My story begins with, I thought it was an athletic accident. And one day when I was working out in a gym, I just got back and all of a sudden I had a huge cramp in my left-hand side. I had no idea what it was, and I couldn't get on or off the bed in the hotel room where I was staying, and so I couldn't move. I was locked in pain. I didn't know what it was. But I kind of worked through that, and I thought it was going to go away. And all of a sudden, the next few days, I started noticing this big protrusion here on my left-hand side. I had no idea what it was. And I thought it would go away. I thought it was just something that was, a sports injury. And so what happened was, over the next few months, it got worse and worse, and it just grew. And my left-hand side was like a funhouse mirror. It just big on one side and abs on the other side. I was like, this is crazy. And over the months, I just ended up not eating, and I couldn't eat because it was so painful. And so I lost 50 pounds in 6 weeks, and I was just a shell of myself, and my family said, you're not going to die on our watch. And they took me to Vanderbilt. I don't even remember going in, but they took me into Vanderbilt, and at Vanderbilt, then I saw they diagnosed me with stage 4 cancer. And it was spleen cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I had no idea what that meant. I mean, I was so out of it mentally. I said, well, no, I sell cancer insurance. That's my job. I sell cancer insurance. I don't have cancer. They said, sir, you have cancer, and it's stage 4. My spleen was 5 times normal, and it just blew up. So your spleen is about the size of your fist, and it was 5 times that size. So it impacted all my organs, and I wasn't able to eat. So very, very bad situation. And I went in at Vanderbilt there and actually transferred to St. Thomas. Due to insurance situation. And so I went to St. Thomas, and they said, they started immediately to do amniocentesis and then do the chemo immediately. And I was really upset about it because many years ago I had come in contact with some people that had gone naturopathically, but it was like 35 years before, and I just had really no idea, here's my chance, and I'm critical, hadn't been eating, couldn't do anything at all, couldn't move really. And so I was in the hospital there and started doing the chemo treatments and all this stuff. And it was just an entire year of this stuff. And it was horrifying because they call them side effects, but that's a very sweet term for actual collateral damage. What they do is they go in and destroy your immune system, if you can imagine this. They're going to destroy the immune system in an effort to catch the cancer. But what I had was head to toe collateral damage. And I'm sorry, it was just unbelievable. And maybe I'm not politically correct, but I'll just tell you, I had neuropathy in my feet and osteoarthritis in my hip, and then the pulmonary embolisms in my chest here. I had blood clots and a heart attack, and bone loss and gum loss in my teeth. Of course, I lost all my hair. I had no immune system. I couldn't go out for better part of a year. Couldn't leave the house, and it was really bad. And I thought, this is going to get better at some point. Well, I went through all the treatment cycle, and at that point, I got a call from oncology that shocked me. And after I was done with them, I thought, what is this call? So I picked up the call, and it was amazingly bad timing. It was a Friday night at a football game, where my daughter was field commander at the marching band. And actually, literally, this guy called me, and the oncologist said, we didn't get it all. And I said, what does that mean? And I'm being surrounded by life, but he's telling me on the phone there that he said, you need more chemo, radiation, you need stem cell transplant, you need, experimental treatments. And I said, well, what if I don't do them? And he said, well, I'll give you 6 months. So after I was done with all their treatments, then I was terminal. And during the time that I was so sick, I have a big library because I'm a teacher. And so off the shelf, I had developed this network of people and across the country that are curing and healing cancer. Ty Bollinger is a big part of that, just so many people that I started to talk with. And I went to a nutritional biochemist in Florida whose book was on my library shelf, and brilliant man. And he's been, working with curing and healing cancer for 30 years. Gary Tunsky is his name. And it was phenomenal because he actually used state-of-the-art equipment that's 40 years ahead of the AMA, and tested me and gave me a 35-page report, and he said, here's what's going on. Yes, you're stage 4, but actually you're stage 6 in his parlance. And then he said, what we got to do next is give you a protocol. So he gave me a protocol of what to do. So I came home and did exactly the precise protocol for the next, multiple months. A few months later, oncology called me, and they said, we want to do a follow-up visit. I said, okay. They said, what date do you want? And I said, well, how about March 17th, which is St. Patrick's Day? But the girl said, fine. She didn't know what it was, but that was the exact date of my death. It was exactly 6 months to the day from the phone call that I'd gotten. I went in on March 17th, and the oncologist didn't come into the room, but I saw him in the hall with his little clipboard, and he was standing there. And I walked up to him, and I'd already had issues with this whole situation because the pulmonary embolisms, the way that worked was so horrifying to me. And I'll land on that in a second. The pulmonary embolisms, they gave me 3. The way I found out, the nurse practitioner waltzed in one day and she said, "Hey, good news and bad news." I said, "What's that mean?" She said, "Well, the good news is that the cancer is receding, but the bad news is that basically, I'm sorry about the pulmonary embolisms." And she turned around and walked out. And I said, excuse me, what?" She said, "Yeah, you have pulmonary embolisms. I'm sorry about them." And I had no idea really what the words were, but they were blood clots on my lungs. So what that does is it continues you into the medical merry-go-round. Basically what it is they're going to get you with one thing that causes another that causes another. So this was their effort. You have to go on blood thinners when you have blood clots. So they wanted me to go on Coumadin and warfarin, which you have to go in every week to have constant monitoring. And I like these people, but not that well. And I said, "No, thank you. And what else do you have?" They said, "Well, we have Xarelto." And I said, "What's that?" And they said, "Well, it's a blood thinner." And my family was sitting in the room with me. They said, "If you don't take this stuff, you're going to die." Oncology said that. So what did I have to do? I had to take it. So I took the prescription, fighting all the way, kicking and screaming, dragging my feet. But I went home and I took it. Well, another thing was bone loss and gum loss. My teeth, I had to have dental surgery. So I intuited that I couldn't be on blood thinners while I'm having dental surgery. Speaking of medical merry-go-round here, I couldn't do that. So I came off the Xarelto, which, by the way, is being sued nationally because there is no antidote. So if you cut yourself, you'll bleed out. Hundreds of families across America are suing that company. But I went ahead and I didn't take it. I went to do the dental work, and then I came out of that, and I used, from then on, I used nattokinase and serrapeptase, which are Japanese herbs. And I went back into oncology a few weeks later and had another set of testing. This is in the middle of the story. And the oncologist whipped a piece of paper out and he said, "Hey, see," because he'd gotten a report from the radiologist. And the radiologist's report had said, "Pulmonary embolisms resolved." So he said, "Look, Xarelto did its job." And I said, "No, not really." And he deadpanned me and he said, "What did you do?" And I said, "I used Japanese herbs." And so, he's writing on my chart, the patient isn't, compliant. But I did find this interesting because we'd already had these kinds of exchanges all along. I'm asking, what is it that, causes cancer? What should I eat? And he said, hamburgers, French fries, Cokes, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have anything to do with it. When I got these answers like, you can eat whatever you want, I realized that they didn't have any clue about nutrition. And if you can tell me I can have hamburgers and French fries and a Coke and no, don't worry about it, then I know something's wrong. But that's because I'd spent a lot of time doing research to know that nutrition is directly tied to cancer. Another time I'd ask him, "What caused this?" I said, what caused it? He said, "What's the luck of the draw?" I said, "Oh, really?" Well, see, I'm like a good attorney. I know the answers before I ask the questions. So what I did was I had known I had my cell phone here for 15 years. Well, the number one radiating device in America was the BlackBerry. Well, I wore it for 15 years right over my spleen. My cancer was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma of the spleen. So I was irradiating myself without even knowing it. So now today, just FYI, the number one irradiating device is the Apple iPhone. So you're going to see lots more cancer because people are wearing them all over their bodies. You literally go online and you can see people that have problems, cancer in the shape of the phone. I mean, it's going to get more and more because these devices are irradiating us. Well, you need to have a cell protector, which you put on your phone. It'll cut down 99% of the radiation, but it won't harm your cell service. What happened in March 17th? Well, I had gone in and I said, to the oncologist, he was standing there, and I said, "Well, do you remember what you said to me 6 months ago?" I guess you can imagine it's an incredible moment to go up to your doctor and say, "Do you remember what you told me?" It just summoned all the courage I could possibly say because this man had told me I was going to be dead. And I said to him, "Do you remember what you said to me?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Well, you told me that I would be dead." And he looked me up and down. He said, "Well, you look pretty good to me." And he said, and I guess we all make mistakes. And that's all I ever got out of oncology. It didn't shock me about him, except to say this, it's to me horrifying that any person would do that to you. But I was expecting something like that anyway, after all my months of just not having, not positive in that whole setting. Every time I'm going in, as you might know, you're going into these situations and you're sitting, they've got a port into, surgically entering a port and putting in this toxic stuff into you. And the chemotherapy is horrifying. I mean, literally, it's 86% of the oncologists won't take it themselves or give it to their loved ones. They know what they're doing to you, but they will not give it to their loved ones. They will give it to you because they don't know you. And because there's money involved, there's a direct correlation to their bank account. Every time they prescribe chemo, they get a direct kickback. So this is a conflict of interest that's massive. But the pharmaceuticals are all involved with this stuff. So to me, it's a very sad situation. It doesn't surprise me because I think we're just, the American middle class is being destroyed financially. And there's a goal for that. There's a reason for all that. On that day, they did the Chem24 profiles and blood work and lab analysis and all that kind of stuff. And guess what they found? No cancer. Interestingly enough, no one in oncology asked me what I did. So I presented as a stage 4 case, which is the end zone, going to terminal, and I show up with no cancer. And no one even asked me what I did. So right then and there, I finally put the pieces together. I'd had lots of issues with the chemo, and I just knew there was something wrong with the whole system. And it began to really become apparent to me because it was huge what was going on at that point that I knew I needed naturopathic things. So the program worked beautifully, and I just know that the difference is finances. They literally charged me somewhere around $400,000 in the hospital system, oncology system, and it failed. And then I paid under $25,000 for what actually healed me, and I did it at home by myself without anybody else. I never went back to see anyone until I had the visit with oncology. So my story is very unique. I know it's all about, it's money driven, it's finance driven. And I can just say this way, I know I'm not unique, but what it's done is sent me on a mission because I absolutely want to help people now to understand that they can do the naturopathic things. And I'm providing finances for people that are terminal or chronically ill now to get naturopathic treatments. Because insurance companies, as you know, I was an insurance agent and I still am, but I was selling at that point cancer policies, and I was among the top 25 agents in the United States. And my own company denied me benefits when I went naturopathically. They would only pay me for the chemo, the drugs, the surgery, that kind of stuff, but they even denied me. And I shipped this all the way up to the top of the house. I went all the way to every senior vice president, every marketing person, all the way to the president. And I said, look, guys, I can be a poster boy for healing from cancer. And I said, this is what we need to do, is we need to have writers or whatever you want to call them that say, hey, there's an option out here to get a lump sum for a diagnosis. And then you can go spend it any way you want to. Well, eventually my pleas fell on deaf ears. So at the end of this year, I had to quit my company that I was very successful in. And I left $100,000 on the table, one of the senior managers told me. But I ethically could not approach another person in my spirit. I couldn't go up to another person and say, buy this policy, because I know what I'm doing is I'm pushing people into the arms of oncology that don't have the answer. Most American people are so busy working every day, working, that when this hits them, they have no recourse. They don't know what to do. And so it's coming out of the blue at them like it did to me. And so they think, okay, I've got to trust somebody. Who can I trust? Well, it's got to be the guys in the white coats with the stethoscopes, because they've researched this for years and really, hopefully, they know their way out. Well, you have a family that's going to tell you, you must take chemotherapy. You must do what they're telling you. They know what to do. And I was sitting there thinking, over the course of this last year, only on November 8th, the day before the major election that we had, it was November 7th. On that day, I had my own personal miracle. And that's when they confirmed this, not having any cancer. But I was so grateful, and I just have been reflecting on this now for the better part of this year, realizing that one of the commandments in the Ten Commandments in the Word says, thou shalt not have any other gods before you. And America has made the guys in the white coats our gods, because they tell you when you're going to die. And that's totally unforgivable to me, but they said a 6-month death sentence to me. And I appealed to my Creator, and I said to Almighty God, I said, there's got to be a better way out. There's something here. So I don't accept that, but I want to give a word of encouragement. You cannot trade a human being for your relationship with Father. And it's so important that you go after your relationship with Father and say, Father, you tell me what to do. Give me wisdom to know where to go and have me meet the people that you want. Scripture says the steps of a righteous person are ordained by the Lord, by Father. So I know that our God is the Creator, the Almighty God. He is the one that can do this for us, and He does bring the healing. And He'll use people, and He uses wisdom, and you just have to be thinking, okay, there's got to be something else. Father, show me what it is. And that's what I did. I think the replacement of the Almighty with a guy in the white coat or a lady in the white coat is absolutely tragically flawed. So I think we're losing lots of people. 1,600 people a day are going down for cancer. All these people are going all the time. And 1.6 million a year are being diagnosed. Fresh new. And people don't realize, when you think about it, every other man's getting cancer now. And 1 out of 3 women, I think that figure is a little low. But I know that, it's my misfortune to get cancer, and you're fine. What's going to happen is it's going to become so prevalent that people are really going to need to think outside the box, like Ty says, and get outside. And that's what really has helped my life to be here today for my family, because I was actually able to think outside the box. And so hats off to Ty, the organization, and to what's going on in the naturopathic world. And I'm not being politically correct, I'm really sorry. But I just want you to know the truth of the matter is I know what's going on, and I want to help as many people as I can with their journey to healing, health, and and I'm so grateful for the truth about cancer and for all the men and women that are allied in any way, shape, or form with this mission, because it's now my mission too. And I just want to help everybody that I can to get the monies, to get them away from the treatments that don't work, that were killing me. And I knew they were killing me, but I didn't have any choice at that time. Now I do. And I will tell everyone I can, I have help for you financially if you're going through cancer, to go to your naturopathic side and to work with several of these. There's wonderful people across America and outside of the USA that are curing and healing cancer. And my encouragement is to you, go there and let me help you financially if you need help.